how do you bring the people together? You have this vast variety of trades, of companies, of contractors, of public, private people. What did you do to try to bring them together?
Well, you start with the organization structure.
Sure.
And the organization charts between all the entities. You establish the levels in the organization and the disciplines that need to coordinate. So then you look at what are the areas that you need and require coordination, and then establish the meetings that are necessary. And so we've done that at all levels. So we have the highest level between Dan Gabauskas and his direct reports, and of course then you have the HART boards. It flows all the way down. So we have internal meetings between engineering, construction, my group. We meet with project controls and administration and controls and finance. So we're constantly meeting. We have standing meetings, special meetings.
I hope it's literally standing meetings, because you get people to sit down and it takes forever to go through it.
Yeah, we have some of those meetings where nobody leaves the room until you get a decision. So we have that, and that filters all the way through the contractors.
Okay.
So they have task force, they call them, for each discipline, whether it's a structural, geotechnical, quality. They form a task force of their representatives and the owner's representatives, HART representatives. And so you're required, there's action items, meeting minutes, and then you also have cross interface between. So if you have an issue in one task force, say structures, that may have an impact on geotechnical, well then they get together and they're required, and then it all gets elevated if it can't be resolved to an overall progress meeting with the owner. So there's a sole structure within the organization and within meetings to ensure that we're communicating.
To me, that sounds like partnering.
Yes, correct. Our business should be just partnering.
Okay.
But in addition, we put in the contracts formalized, facilitated partnering to make sure everyone is on the same page. So we had full-day sessions, multi-day sessions on each of the design-build contracts for partnering.
Okay.
And we had a third-party facilitator come in, and we, executive levels and management and staff levels, all participated to agree on the common goals for the program, as well as the metrics, the measurements on.
So when you look at the technology that's involved in this project, how would you classify the various technologies that are? Is it all mature? Is it a mixture of mature and novel, and and someplace in between?
It is a mixture. So we have mature. Our criteria actually says wherever possible, use off-the-shelf technology, proven technology. That's actually a criteria. So if we specify a certain switch machine, for example, for a turnout, we specify these are acceptable based on industry standards or an approved equal. So there's opportunities to push through newer
off-the-shelf items.
Off-the-shelf, and then we have cutting edge, not done before. So that's mostly in our core systems where we have the vehicles. Right now, we are proceeding and moving to develop the first U.S.-based automated driverless transit system.
Wow!
So this will be the precedent setting for the U.S. industry.
What other benefits do you get out of an automated system that you wouldn't have if you had a driver in there?
Reliability and the service times.
Okay.
So and just to clear up, when I say first automated driverless, in a transit system, because we have people movers that are automated, but to handle this capacity, this would be the first. So it improves reliability in your system performance time, because with the driver, as best you can, it's still a manual operation as they approach speed into the station and accelerate out. There's always that driver component where you can program the software. It's going to be there at this right time.
And I'm sure you'll get all the bugs out of it before the first train moves out of the station.
Absolutely. There's a requirement that we have a burn-in for all the vehicles. They have to run for so many hours. We have test up and start up and systems integration, certification, that we can't have a passenger on there until we've checked off everything. So we've actually built in 9 months of just startup and testing before we go into operation.
Okay, so we got through design, we got the bid, we got the contracts in place. We move into final design?
Yes, we get into the design phase, right? And so then they do all their investigations, whether it's soil investigations, They do their structural analysis. They go through the details of all the design.
Okay.
Electrical, for lighting, so that they have all of that effort. They go through submittals for review and approvals, as well as not only through HART, but other third-party agencies, coordinating with utility companies, whether it's Hawaii Department of Transportation or the city and county divisions and departments. So they go through the review and approval process. We're reviewing it to make sure they're consistent with all of our criteria. So they go through all that phase, and then they get it ready, packaged for a bid.
Then are you finally in execution? Or does execution in some areas start before that? So is it kind of a sequential approach, or is it something that you can be working on final design in one area, but you're already breaking ground in another area?
Well, within a section,
Yeah.
if it's design build, yes,
Okay.
they can be done with a portion of design in this phase.
So it's another benefit. You know, which trades are the ones that are going to be there for the longest period of time and be involved all the way through the project?
Well, for this project, because it's elevated, so it's a structures project.
The structures.
So
that's right.
it's all elevated, all bridge type construction, and we are using segmental construction where we have precast segments or cast in place segmentals to minimize impact, minimize footprint that we would need if we had to put the structure on a false work system. So with the bridge structure, you're usually looking at your iron workers, your experienced forces that can tie rebar, erect structures, pour concrete, and so those are the key
trades.
yes,
Yeah.
because the contractor intends to set up a certain amount of crews, get headways at different locations, and then just move along.
Manpower loading. At what point in the is it like a gradual ramp up, or is it like a peaks and valleys of manpower loading?
Well, within an individual contract, you usually would have your typical bell,
curve, yeah.
right? But within design build, it would vary a little bit because they may have bells with the utilities, then they get done, and then the guideway structures pick up and ramp down. So the contractor has their own resource loading schedules. We focus on the cost loaded schedule. They focus on the details of the labor, equipment, materials. So generally speaking, we would be looking at a typical right,
bell curve.
right.
Okay, all right. And from a approximate time frame, what are we talking about in terms of years that are involved in this project, from the point where you started to the point where you're into that 9-month commissioning and startup period?
Well, with the different sections going out and starting
right.
at different times, so the first 10 miles we had anticipated to start that in 2016 or 2017.
Okay, the first 10 miles, 2016, 2017. Okay.
Right. So probably in in the 2017 time frame where we're at. We constantly work with the contractor. So what we had planned essentially was to have 2 openings. We'd have what we call an interim opening, which would be the first 10, and then the final opening,
Yeah, final
full opening.